Not that there's anything wrong with bass and chord arrangements. By putting the harmony inside the melody, you can camouflage the skeleton and have a very handy device for playing fast melodies. Or you can stay in the skeleton stratums and change the way the basses and chords come along. Instead of the predictable bass chord combination, you could play... In fact, varying the bass and chord pattern is the basis of most of the Latin rhythms, as you'll see in your class. Take the tango, for example. Deep down, where it really counts, the tango is only a bass note and 3 chords, like this old camouflage of the skeleton. But to make life easier and your music more interesting, you play 1 broken chord instead of 3 whole chords. What makes it the tango is the tango beat, and that requires only 1 little change. The first chord attack comes after the beat, not on the beat. So, there's the tango arrangement, a simple camouflage of the skeleton. And lest we forget, you've also got the skeleton itself, which most certainly counts as a way to arrange a song. In fact, sometimes the skeleton is the best setting for a tune, and that's certainly true for ragtime. But most of the time, you'll find a mixture of arranging devices will do wonders for a standard tune. In fact, a mixture of arranging devices will get you nicely through the morning and through the afternoon and through the evening and, in fact, through the whole year. But arranging a song isn't a hit-or-miss matter, or it shouldn't be. The mixture of arranging devices has to be judicious and appropriate. So tune in to our next exciting episode, and you'll see how to arrange a tune right here on the silver screen. There are some performers who can sit down at the piano and play song after song without having to think about it. It's no accident that such performers are always pictured with a group of open-mouthed spectators surrounding them. But very often, these performers are said to be playing the piano, when in reality, they're only playing the pinky. All evening long, they sit at the keyboard and turn out the same piece of music over and over, with nothing ever changing except the name of the tune. For those piano players who insist on arranging every song the same way, there is one piece of advice. Try this on your piano. As regular viewers may have noticed, our list of ways to treat a melody is getting to be quite long. As of this moment, our list of setting devices includes tunes with chords, basic skeleton, full skeleton, dozens of ways to vary the bass and chord attacks of the skeleton, some ways to camouflage the skeleton by changing stratums, tenth chords, and most recently, open voicing and counter melody. And that doesn't count what's still to come, like the Latin rhythms, and the styles of what's often called cocktail piano. So there's a lot more to come. But even without those settings, we still have a lot of ways to play a tune. In fact, it's too many ways to arrange a tune. Obviously, the whole ball of wax doesn't make an understandable arrangement. The mind's ear can't really grasp more than a couple of arranging devices at a time and still make sense of them. But exactly which arranging devices to use and when to use them, well, your common sense will tell you a couple of things. Take the arpeggio. It's certainly a handy device to have around the piano with its full, lush sound. But it sounds very busy, so it may not make sense with a busy melody. A tune that busy doesn't need competition from a busy setting. Your common sense tells you it needs a sparse arrangement, like the basic skeleton. Or take the crossed hands arrangement where you drop the melody a couple of octaves so that it sits between the bass notes and the chords. Crossed hands can be very effective, or it can make nonsense of a tune. When you drop the melody a couple of octaves, you take the lyrics with it.
Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam,
where the deer and the antelope play,
where seldom is heard
a discouraging word.
So what
can an antelope say?
The moral of that story is, don't change your stratums in mid-thought. Your common sense will tell you that. Your common sense will tell you that an arrangement doesn't exist all by itself. An arrangement is a setting for a tune. Both the tune and its setting have to make sense together. And the moral of that story is, pay attention to the pattern of the tune before you start to arrange it. So let's pay some attention to the kinds of patterns you find in tunes. Okay, take an everyday tune with a typical pattern. That's a very good one to start with. First, it's not Red River Valley. Second, you should know it in case you're ever asked to play the piano at a baseball game. And finally, to the point, the tune is a bona fide antique, but its pattern is very much alive and well in most of the popular music you want to play today. The song became our national anthem in 1931. But it's much older than that. Woodrow Wilson ordered the tune to be played by military bands in 1916. But it's much older than that. Francis Scott Key wrote lyrics to it in 1814. But it's much older than that. About 250 years ago, the tune was called Anacreon in Heaven and sung by a rowdy English club. And here's its pattern. To begin with, the tune is 32 bars long and divided into 4 equal parts. The first part is 8 bars long and goes like this. Quite a catchy part, don't you think? Well, then, if it's that good, why not repeat it for the next 8 bars? But it's not all that catchy, so to keep you from getting bored, the melody changes its tune to a new theme for 8 bars. And just for good measure, the melody changes again to yet another theme. And there's the pattern of the Star-Spangled Banner, or Anacreon in Heaven if you prefer the name of the tune rather than the name of the lyrics. 32 bars long, divided into 4 equal parts, and some parts coming back again. And now to create a setting, an arrangement for the tune. Well, to begin with, the first part, part A of the tune, is fairly busy. It sits well on a sparse arrangement, like the skeleton. Now the melody repeats, so it's still busy, and it still sits well on a sparse arrangement, like crossed hands, where the melody drops a couple of octaves to sit between the bass notes and the chords. Now the melody changes. It has a different feeling, so it gets a different kind of arrangement, like harmony and melody. And now the song drives headlong toward the end with as big a finish as possible, note piled on note to make full blocks of sound. After almost 3 centuries, that's still a standard pattern for popular tunes. Naturally, beloved tunes have to arrive in a very familiar pattern. That's largely what makes them so lovable, so easy to remember, and so hard to forget. Take the pattern of a more recent standard tune. This one is by Jerome Kern, and in the long tradition of popular music, it's made of 32 bars, divided into 4 equal parts of 8 bars. Those 4 parts are also delivered in a very familiar way. First, part A for 8 bars. Quite nice, don't you think? Nice enough to repeat for 8 more bars. Okay, we know that part. It's time for a change of pace to keep our interest. So, here comes part B. But, on the other hand, the first part, part A, was very good too. Certainly good enough to use again to end the song. There's the pattern of the tune, A-A-B-A, perhaps the most common blueprint in all of our popular music. Now you know quite a lot about how to arrange the tune.